We are hearing stories that Mandarin is now a popular language in Africa. Many African schools are teaching this language, and those that are doing business, going to China, are learning Mandarin in order to communicate. Some have even gone further to say that Chinese is similar to some African languages like Chikaranga, or also called ChiShona. Along the way, we also learn Chinese are busy recolonizing us. Our Mandarin dominant leaders think that the Chinese Communist Party is their best friend. In all this, there is a Chinese agenda hidden from almost all African leaders and the masses, specifically those that are learning and itching to learn Mandarin. The Chinese are subtly employing linguistic tricks to wipe out all of our African brothers and sisters, first with their memory, their culture, and their well-being. Let us look at this linguistic proof that has been given that Africans once lived in China. Question then we ask is that what happened to them? What we learn is that a slave eventually speaks the language of the master. Let's proceed to look at this and can see that our African brothers are allowing these Confucius campuses being built in universities all over Africa are falling for the hook, line, and sinker. There is linguistic similarity between Chinese and African languages. The example we shall give is Shona. We will have to look again at the Chinese genetic origins which are found amongst melanin dominant human beings in Africa. Then we need a verifying proof that black Africans are the indigenous Chinese and what happened to them. And then we shall conclude with the subtle plan that is afoot. From this book that has been released by professors at the University of Zimbabwe, we learn that Shona and certain Chinese words share similarities. For example, tofa, which means hair, is also tofa in Shona. Nai, grandmother, is nai, a word normally used to emphasize a point or emphasize an ancestor. Uruguyo is urugo, which means a tiny wasp. And then jinde, it's a shinda, which means a thread. And sosi, which is a wrong word actually, sosi, which means a third. Zizai means to be free and comfortable. In our language means zizai, learn, referring to more than a lot of people. Sasa, which means both sprinkler, spread. Pa, referring learning of the, like that sound. Ga is also another sound when you are cutting a tree. Same, these words are the same. In all these words and in all these languages, let us remember that there is a Chinese agenda from almost all African leaders are oblivious to. The masses that are learning Mandarin do not even know that. From the website, The Patriot, we learn that wood is mu, which is halfway muti in ChiShona. And the drum, the popular drum that has been popularized by Hebrew Israelites, ngoma lungundu, there is a Chinese word which is also longde. And when we speak of tenzi, a lot of us know that tenzi means Lord, Master. It has been used in religion and religious spheres, meaning the Son of God. It's a sacred word. In Chinese is the same. It's Tianzi, and in Shona is Tenzi. There is a lot of similarities there. We go on to show that the Chinese word for the stupid person, an idiot, someone who is crazy, is Benzi. In Shona, it's Benzi, same. When we speak of mother and father, in Chinese is Baba, and Mama, same as in our languages, in ChiShona, and many other African languages. These linguistic connections discussed here can be found in places also like in India, in Nepal, in Burma, in Japan, in China, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, in Cambodia, and also in Thailand. What that means and what that indicates is that this linguistic proof that Africans once lived in China and the Far East indicates something like a tip of the iceberg. What is it hiding us from understanding if we stick and stop at the language only? Teaching of this language is good. It is beneficial because the Chinese are a dominant force economically. But we must be aware of the Chinese subtle agenda that is afoot. Now, to go there, we need to first understand that the Chinese, the original founders of China were melanin dominant human beings. So when we understand that, and when we learn the language, we are not learning their language. we are learning our language, which is an African language. Most of the modern population of China has its genetic origins in Africa. Scientists say prehistoric humans may have migrated east across Southeast Asia and into China and settled in China. The proof is also archaeological, and all this, the Shan were also called Na-Ki, which literally means black Na and Man Ki. King Tang and Shang dynasty were responsible for the unification of China to form their first civilization 1600 to 1046 BCE. The head of Oba, Edo brass sculpture, which was found in Benin, Nigeria, 16th century, is the same as the one found in China. The Negroid races peopled at some point all of south of India, Indochina, and in China. The south of Indochina actually has now pure Negritos as the Semangs and are mixed with Mayas as Malaks and Sakais. Chinese DNA specialist Jin Lin proved through DNA test that the first inhabitants of China were black Africans. So we continue to show this and say this proof that in around 122 BCE, Prince Liunan, who died in 112 BCE, speaks of references of Negritos in China as late as the Tang dynasty. In the Lin Yi Kuo Quan, contained in the book 197 of the Chutang Shu, it is written that the people living to the south of Lin Yi have woolly hair and black skin. In addition to the above, Chinese folklore mentions an empress of China named Li 397 AD, who was the consort of the emperors Yang Yuwen. She was a black person. In addition to fighting the Yi, the Zhou elephant also conquered the Negritos of southern China. You can read this from the Quatrille World Press. What happened then to these indigenous black Chinese? Yes, we know that the so-called language similarities is proof that Africans and melanin-dominant human beings lived in China first. Where are they today? This proof of language verifies that Africans are indigenous to China, that the Africans are the indigenous Chinese, but now they've vanished. And this must be a warning to all melanin-dominant human beings who entertain the pale Chinese or any Chinese, because they are hiding their history and they are not telling the truth. In order for us to dig and understand this, we now have to look at the book PAEKCHE'S Principles, written by Brother Baem Biyik. What does it teach? It teaches that century by century, clever forgery of Chinese and Asian history has been perpetrated. Why? Because the PAEKCHE'S Principle exposes the multiple genocides that were perpetrated by the pale Chinese as they destroyed the indigenous populations that we have proved were found in East Asia as well as in China. This is what the Chinese will never admit to nor apologize for, because they are on an agenda of taking over Africa and the earth. The proof of these populations remained in few words that we learn today as similarities with our own languages. Those that are teaching Mandarin, politicians, presidents, business and entrepreneurs, trading and inviting the Chinese to come into Africa, do not understand the PAEKCHE'S Principles, because if they did understand it a little bit, they would know the genocides of melanin-dominant human beings who were once the first people in Asia and on earth. Yes, there is a linguistic proof of our ancestors who founded China, but why don't we hear about their fate? Our ancestors named and renamed places with words that tell us the truth. For instance, Gogurio is Gwaguriwa. In other words, their life has been cut short. Zila, it is Zila, means to starve in Nguni, means not to have in Nguni, starvation. Paekche or Paekche means bakata or hold it. It also refers to the genitals of a woman and the reproduction, which infers to the raping and destruction and the production of mulatto races. Also means to hold on. With Paekche means to hold on, bakatwa, your spear or your fighting tools. This is all from the PAEKCHE'S Principles, a most fascinating and advanced scientific research on Asian history. And the largest crime scene ever. Who committed these crimes? Who were the victims? Who organized these genocides? What are their motives? Are their motives still with them today? These are the questions that all those that are advancing this Mandarin mantra should understand and answer. Let's go a little bit into some quizzes. Kudara, the Middle Empire or the Middle Kingdom and founder of Japan, the Kudara people, a unique people, an extraordinary people, were erased from history by China. The history of the victims of the genocides in Asia was encrypted and inscribed in nature and on a continental scale and continues today all over the earth. Let's ask the questions now. All Asia countries, histories start with legends. Why? Is it because their founders were talented novelists and poets? No. Is it because it helps children to be creative? No. It is because they hide the mass killings of hundreds and millions of indigenous black people. Let's go and continue and say, Paekche's theory has proved that Asian history officially is a fairy tale. Not exactly. A mix of real history with bogus facts. Yes, here and there. A tool for China's dominance over Asia. Also, true, factual and free of false historical accounts. Wrong. It is fabricated as a fairy tale to hide the real history of the destruction and the killing and the mass killings of hundreds of millions of indigenous black people that were found in China. What triggered the disappearance of black people in Asia? It was not environmental catastrophe, it was not pandemics, it was not scarcity of women, it was not back to Africa trips, it was constant mass killings and genocides. Black people in Asia went through several genocides. Who were the organizers? It's not the South Koreans, it's not Dark Vada or government, it's China. What were black Asian kingdoms destroyed for? They didn't preserve nature, the advanced writing system. They were destroyed because of their rich traditions and scientific institutions. This is what the Chinese want. Today, they are planning to put over 300 million people in Africa. This is their subtle plan. You can see here in this image already the Chinese in South Africa. They are very quiet. They don't shout. They are coming quietly and quietly and quietly, and soon, within a generation, they will be dominating. They use also economic principles and economic tricks. The Paekche's principle teaches us that we should be careful of the loans that we borrow from China. We should never borrow and never pay back. Actually, President Magufuli proved that we do not need to borrow from anybody. So any African leader, any African businessman, any African economist who teaches us to borrow is a sellout. Does not know the great secret of Asia written in the Paekche's principles. The Sino-Subtle plan involves the global agenda against black Asians. You can watch our video of the same title to learn more and to explore this from a very broad perspective. Now we know that Mandarin is to be taught in schools all over Africa, and in South Africa it is becoming mandatory. Why? Because the Chinese, they want to come, they want to destroy our culture, they want to destroy our languages like Kiswahili, Zulu, and Shona, Twai, Hosa, Bambara, and all these indigenous languages. They want to destroy them and they replace them with Mandarin. Soon we'll be speaking Mandarin and we will be thinking it's the best, just like we are speaking English, French, and Portuguese and Spanish. We need to support the growth of Kiswahili, our own indigenous languages, Nguni languages, Igbo languages, Twai, Bambara, and never support Mandarin and put it at a pedestal or on a pedestal. For you to do something about this, you have to share this video, you have to spread this message, you have to make and leave a comment, you have to like this video, because when you like it, it will mean the algorithm will make it a point that others will see the video, and that way you are able and you are putting your effort to secure our future. For more information, you can email us on john@marifado.com. Till we meet again, we need to learn our own indigenous languages to promote our own indigenous languages. Learn an African language. Learn Kiswahili, learn isiZulu, learn isiNdebele, learn isiShona, learn isiBemba, learn iTonga, learn every other language that is spoken in indigenous Africa. Learn that language, not Mandarin. When you learn Mandarin, just learn it to do business. That's all. Thank you. This is your manager to P. Priest Rabbi LM saying, yes, it can be done. Amen.